Hello, my name is Dr. Patricia Coughlin. I'm a clinical psychologist with 40 years of experience, 32 of those in the practice of intensive short-term dynamic psychotherapy. And that's what I'm here to talk to you about today. I started out the way that most therapists do, highly motivated and really dedicated to helping patients heal and transform their lives. But after 8 or 9 years of practicing, I guess I would say, traditional psychodynamic psychotherapy, I was feeling very disheartened because my outcomes were pretty erratic. I mean, sometimes I would get great results, sometimes good, and sometimes we really just didn't get anywhere. I didn't seem to have the skill to deal with the kinds of defenses and resistances that created intractable obstacles to engagement. So when I met Dr. Davenloo, who developed the method of intensive short-term dynamic psychotherapy, I thought, this is it. And I did everything I could to learn from him and to continue to learn and grow and practice, but also to spread the word, to write books and articles about this method, and to teach and train mental health professionals around the world. And that's what I've been asked to do here in Israel. So I'd like to invite you to join us for a full-day webinar on the theory and practice of intensive short-term dynamic psychotherapy. This is a method of therapy that's accumulating empirical evidence to support its clinical effectiveness and its cost effectiveness. In fact, it looks like ISTDP, which is what we call it for short, saves $3 for every dollar spent to the healthcare system. So that's pretty remarkable. But most importantly, I think it's going to reinvigorate you. It turns out the major cause of burnout is a lack of effectiveness. It's not overwork, right? So many of us come into this profession really dedicated to helping people and yet not trained sufficiently to do that in a consistently effective manner. And that's what I found ISTDP did. It is a systematic but flexible means of assessing both the nature, history, and severity of the patient's problems and their capacity to do the work. Did you know that developmental history and descriptive diagnoses like the DSM have no prognostic value? They don't tell us what kind of treatment is going to help or if the patient will be likely to respond to that treatment. So what Davenloo found was that the best indicator is the patient's ability to respond to intervention in the here and now. So he developed what he calls the central dynamic sequence, which is a series of interventions that really encapsulate the treatment and are used in the initial consultation, which we call a trial therapy. This usually takes about 3 hours. And in this webinar, you're going to see videotaped vignettes of a real patient undergoing this trial therapy. You'll see me conduct a dynamic inquiry to investigate the nature of the problems, to ascertain what the patient's goals are, and then to come up with an agreement about the task, the therapeutic task to get us from where she is with her difficulties to that goal. You're going to see me also work really effectively with the defenses and resistances that left untouched are going to undermine treatment efforts and block healing. Working with defenses, helping the patient see them and relinquish them in order to actually face and experience their true feelings is the key that unlocks the unconscious. You're then going to see an unmistakable kind of download and de-repression of very specific memories that are going to shed light on the origin of the patient's conflicts. Those conflicts are emerging from the unconscious so that they are available in the here and now for revision and resolution, freeing the patient not only of their symptoms, but in many cases producing character change. And again, I think that's what you're going to see in the case that I'm going to show you. So again, in this webinar, you're going to be introduced to the model. You're going to get the theoretical foundation, and then I'm going to outline the method that flows directly from and is internally consistent with that theoretical model. And then I'm going to show you how it gets implemented in this original session, this initial session, what we call the trial therapy, so you can see the whole process unfold. We will have time throughout this webinar for questions and answers. And so even though we'll be meeting remotely, I hope that we can have a high level of engagement and that you can find this method will provide you with the kind of effectiveness you really want to achieve for yourself and for your patients. So I hope you will join us. Thank you. Bye-bye.